Have you ever felt like someone was pulling your strings? The subtle art of manipulation can be a powerful tool in the wrong hands. But what exactly is dark psychology? It's not about the supernatural, it's about understanding and exploiting the frailties of human nature. In this chapter, we dive deep into the realm of dark psychology, exploring its definition and implications on everyday life. Dark psychology encompasses a range of tactics that are used to influence others for selfish or harmful purposes. It thrives in situations where trust and vulnerability exist. Imagine being in a close relationship, only to discover that the person you trusted was using psychological tricks to control your thoughts and actions. This is the chilling reality of dark psychology. One of the fundamental tactics employed in dark psychology is manipulation through emotional appeal. A study conducted by psychologists at the University of Manchester found that individuals often exploit emotional vulnerabilities to gain advantage. Manipulators are adept at identifying what makes you tick, your fears, desires, and insecurities. Once they know your emotional triggers, they can wield significant power over you. Consider the case of social media influencers. Many have mastered the art of emotional manipulation, using carefully crafted posts to evoke sympathy or admiration, leading followers to take actions they might otherwise avoid. This tactic isn't new, it has been used throughout history, from political figures to charismatic cult leaders who know how to play on the emotions of their followers. Another critical aspect of dark psychology is gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation that seeks to make a person doubt their perception of reality. The term originates from a play titled Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into believing she is going insane by dimming their gas lights and denying it whenever she points it out. In modern contexts, gaslighting can occur in relationships, workplaces, and even in media narratives. Victims of gaslighting often experience confusion, anxiety, and a sense of hopelessness. According to a study by the Counseling Psychology Quarterly, those who experienced gaslighting showed significant signs of psychological distress. This highlights how deep the impact of dark psychological tactics can be. Understanding dark psychology is more than just knowing about manipulation techniques, it's about recognizing the potential for harmful influence in everyday interactions. As we navigate this complex social landscape, equipping ourselves with knowledge is vital. Learning to identify and counteract these tactics can empower us to maintain healthy relationships and personal boundaries. In the next chapter, we will uncover specific strategies employed by dark manipulators that you need to watch out for. As we delve further into the realm of dark psychology, let's explore the specific tactics that manipulators commonly employ. Understanding these methods is crucial for self-defense against manipulation. The first tactic we'll look at is charm and charisma, two potent tools used by manipulators to gain trust quickly. Charming individuals can disarm skepticism and create a false sense of security. They often get people to lower their guard and feel comfortable. Many successful business leaders and politicians have mastered this art. For example, the infamous con artist Frank Abagnale was known for his charm, allowing him to forge checks and impersonate various professionals without raising suspicion for years. His story highlights how charm can be weaponized for deceit. Next, we have the tactic of using guilt as a weapon. Manipulators often know how to exploit our moral compass. They may make you feel responsible for their happiness or success, leading you to comply with their demands out of guilt. This tactic is particularly common in relationships where one partner may use emotional blackmail to get the other to capitulate. A classic example is when a partner may say, "If you really loved me, you'd do this," creating an emotional obligation. Additionally, the concept of scarcity plays a significant role in manipulation. By creating a sense of urgency or limited availability, manipulators can pressure victims into making hasty decisions. This tactic is often used in sales, where the promise of a limited-time offer compels consumers to act quickly, often leading to buyer's remorse. One notable case involved a luxury brand using scarcity tactics to inflate demand, illustrating how consumers can be led astray. Another key tactic is the use of flattery or praise, which can be disarming. While genuine compliments can be uplifting, manipulators often use excessive flattery to gain favor or influence. According to a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, individuals are more likely to comply with requests after receiving compliments. This shows just how effective flattery can be in swaying opinions and decisions. In conjunction with these tactics, gaslighting remains a powerful manipulation method. It is often a gradual process, where small doubts are sown over time, leading the victim to question their sanity. The tactic can leave lasting psychological scars, making individuals more susceptible to further manipulation. Understanding gaslighting is critical, especially in modern contexts like social media, where misinformation can lead to collective gaslighting among groups. As we reflect on these tactics, the importance of self-awareness becomes clear. Being able to recognize when you're being manipulated can empower you to take back control. In the following chapter, we'll explore real-life case studies where these manipulation tactics have been successfully employed and the devastating effects they can have on individuals and society. Now that we've identified manipulation tactics, let's dive into some real-world case studies that showcase the devastating effects of dark psychology. These stories illustrate not only how manipulation can unfold but also serve as cautionary tales for us all. One prominent example is the case of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. Holmes, a Stanford dropout, founded a health technology company promising groundbreaking blood testing that required only a few drops of blood. Her charm and confidence attracted billions in investments, but it was eventually revealed that Theranos couldn't deliver on its promises. Many victims lost their life savings. Holmes manipulated investors and patients alike, showcasing the allure and perils of charismatic leadership in the tech industry. Another significant case is that of Jim Jones and the People's Temple. In the 1970s, Jones led his followers to a compound in Guyana, advocating for a utopian society. His manipulative tactics included emotional appeals, isolation from outsiders, and ultimately, the tragic mass suicide of over 900 followers in 1978. Jones used psychological control to maintain dominance over his followers, leading to devastating consequences. Moreover, the notorious Ponzi schemes orchestrated by figures like Bernie Madoff revealed a psychological mechanism of trust exploitation. Madoff's charisma and reputation in the financial world enabled him to convince thousands that he was a reliable investment manager. Many investors believed in his charm and expertise, only to later discover they had fallen victim to one of the largest financial frauds in history. This serves as a powerful reminder of how charm can sometimes mask deception. As we consider these examples, it's crucial to examine the underlying psychology at play. In the case of Holmes, many investors were driven by fear of missing out, FOMO, leading them to overlook red flags. In the case of Jones and Madoff, the manipulation of trust and confidence played pivotal roles in their control over their victims. Research indicates that individuals are hardwired to trust others, which makes them vulnerable targets for dark psychology tactics. A study from Harvard Business School showed that trust can be a double-edged sword. While it fosters cooperation, it can also lead to exploitation. This highlights the importance of critical thinking and skepticism in today's world. As we proceed, it's vital to consider how we can protect ourselves from such manipulative tactics. In the next chapter, we'll discuss effective strategies to defend against dark psychology, equipping you with the tools needed to navigate a world filled with psychological manipulation. Having explored the tactics and real-world implications of dark psychology, now it's time to discuss how you can shield yourself from manipulation. Awareness and understanding are your first lines of defense. Knowing the tactics manipulators use allows you to identify potential threats in your environment. Let's discuss several strategies that can help you safeguard your mind and personal boundaries. First, cultivating critical thinking skills is crucial. Being able to analyze information and question motives can prevent you from falling prey to manipulation. This involves questioning the intentions behind someone's words or actions. Ask yourself, why is this person saying this? What do they stand to gain? By fostering a habit of skepticism, you can better navigate complex social interactions. Second, establish and maintain strong personal boundaries. Understanding where your limits lie is essential in protecting yourself from manipulative tactics, particularly emotional exploitation. Be assertive in communicating your needs and don't be afraid to say no when something doesn't feel right. Learning to trust your instincts is fundamental. If something feels off, it probably is. Another effective method of protection is seeking external validation. Share your experiences and feelings with trusted friends or family. They can provide perspective and help check if you're experiencing manipulation. This network of support can act as a safety net, catching you if you fall into manipulative traps. Furthermore, practicing emotional awareness is key. Understanding your own emotional responses can make it easier to recognize when someone else is trying to manipulate you. Keep a journal to track your feelings and thoughts, especially when interacting with others. This self-reflection can highlight patterns in your relationships, empowering you to identify when you're being manipulated. Moreover, educate yourself about dark psychology tactics and strategies. Read books, take courses, and participate in discussions about psychology. The more knowledgeable you are, the better equipped you'll be to identify manipulative behavior. Seek reliable sources to ground your understanding so that you can discern fact from fiction. Finally, take the time to practice mindfulness and self-care. These practices help you remain grounded and centered in your thoughts and emotions. Engaging in activities like meditation or yoga can enhance your emotional resilience, making it harder for manipulators to sway you. By focusing on your well-being, you build a stronger foundation against psychological tactics aimed at undermining your mental health. As we think about these protective strategies, remember that knowledge is power. As we move forward, the next chapter will examine the ethical implications surrounding dark psychology, understanding not only how to protect ourselves but also the moral considerations intertwined with these tactics. As we approach the conclusion of our exploration into dark psychology, we must tackle an important aspect: the ethics of using these tactics. Dark psychology isn't inherently malevolent. Instead, it exists within a spectrum, ranging from manipulative practices to ethical persuasion methods. What defines the line between effective influence and harmful manipulation? This chapter aims to delve into the ethical implications of dark psychology. First, let's define what ethical persuasion looks like. Ethical persuasion involves using influence in a manner that respects the autonomy and well-being of others. This can be seen in marketing practices that provide value without deception, building trust with consumers. Ethical marketers are transparent about the benefits of their products, allowing individuals to make informed decisions. On the other hand, dark psychology crosses the line into manipulation when it exploits vulnerabilities or leads individuals to act against their best interests. For instance, using guilt or fear tactics in sales can lead to regrets and feelings of betrayal among consumers. The backlash against exploitative practices has led to regulatory actions and a push for ethical standards in marketing and advertising. Moreover, the rise of social media has significantly blurred the lines between ethical and unethical influence. Platforms often use dark psychology tactics to keep users engaged, such as manipulating notifications or using algorithms that target user insecurities. Users may find themselves spending hours online, feeling compelled to keep scrolling, often at the expense of their mental health. Ethical considerations arise when we reflect on the responsibilities of tech companies in designing user experiences. Should companies prioritize engagement over user well-being? Another ethical concern involves the role of education. Understanding dark psychology is crucial for both individuals and professionals in fields like sales, therapy, and coaching. However, the knowledge of these tactics can also be weaponized. Ethical psychologists emphasize that this knowledge should come with a responsibility to protect rather than exploit. Practicing transparency, honesty, and integrity should be the cornerstones of any profession that wields such psychological power. Ultimately, the conversation surrounding the ethics of dark psychology challenges us to reflect on our motivations. When we consider our own influence in interpersonal relationships, are we acting with the awareness and responsibility necessary to avoid manipulation? The ethical use of psychology requires a commitment to considering the impact of our actions on others. As we wrap up this chapter, it's essential to recognize that while knowledge of dark psychology can illuminate the shadows of manipulation, it also bears the weight of ethical responsibility. In our next chapter, we'll synthesize our learnings and offer final reflections on navigating the intricate landscape of human psychology. Social media has become the bedrock of modern communication, yet beneath its surface lies a dark world, one that exposes users to manipulation and exploitation. In today's digital age, where likes, shares, and comments validate our self-worth, the tactics of dark psychology thrive. Studies indicate that social media platforms utilize algorithms designed not just to capture attention, but to influence thoughts, behaviors, and even emotions. Take, for instance, the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, which revealed how data was harvested without consent to influence political outcomes. The psychological implications are staggering. By analyzing user behavior and preferences, these companies can target individuals with tailored messages that exploit their fears, desires, and anxieties. The very platforms we use for connection have become tools for manipulation. Moreover, a research study published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior found that excessive use of social media is linked to increased levels of narcissism and paranoia. This phenomenon illustrates how dark psychology tactics operate in the shadows of social networks, shaping perceptions and guiding decisions. Individuals often find themselves trapped in echo chambers, where their beliefs are reinforced without challenge. These environments serve to deepen divides and create rifts in society. The psychology of confirmation bias plays a crucial role here. Users are more likely to interact with content that supports their views, which deludes them into thinking their perspective is the only one. The impact of these tactics on mental health can be profound. A survey from the Royal Society for Public Health revealed that social media platforms, particularly Instagram and Snapchat, contribute to increased anxiety, depression, and body image issues among adolescents. The pressure to maintain a perfect online persona can lead to a cycle of self-doubt and unhealthy comparisons. We must consider the ethical implications of using dark psychology in digital marketing and social media strategies. Marketers can manipulate emotions to drive sales, blurring the lines between persuasion and exploitation. The recent rise in influencer culture adds another layer. Influencers often capitalize on their audience's vulnerabilities, creating product desire through carefully crafted narratives that can weave dark psychological strategies into their content. As consumers, recognizing these dark tactics is essential. The realization that every scroll could be a carefully calculated manipulation can be disheartening, but awareness can empower us. By questioning motives and seeking genuine connections, we can mitigate the effects of these tactics on our psyche. In conclusion, the dark side of social media is a reflection of humanity's complexities. While it connects us, it also exposes us to exploitation fueled by dark psychology. By understanding these tactics, we can better navigate the online landscape and reclaim our autonomy. The question remains, are we willing to confront the shadows lurking in our feeds, or will we continue scrolling into the darkness? Narcissism exists on a spectrum, and covert narcissism presents itself in more subtle but equally damaging ways. Unlike overt narcissists who are blatant in their self-importance, covert narcissists often operate under a guise of humility. Their tactics are insidious, enabling them to manipulate and control without detection. To understand covert narcissism, it's crucial to recognize traits such as passive aggressiveness, emotional manipulation, and an overwhelming need for validation. Research indicates that covert narcissists may engage in victimhood, portraying themselves as martyrs to gain sympathy and control over others. The plight of the victim always garners attention, allowing them to deflect blame and manipulate situations to their advantage. One striking example is the case of a workplace scenario where a covert narcissist undermines colleagues by sabotaging projects while appearing to be the supportive teammate. A study from the Journal of Personality found that individuals with covert narcissism often exhibit a lack of empathy and an obsession with how they are perceived, leading to toxic work environments. Family and personal relationships can suffer tremendously under the weight of covert narcissism. A partner may manipulate their spouse through gaslighting, leading them to doubt their perceptions and feelings. Research has shown that victims of such emotional manipulation often experience higher rates of anxiety and depression. In friendships, covert narcissists can create a dynamic that leaves others feeling drained and uncertain. They may prioritize their needs over others, drawing friends into a cycle of emotional exhaustion. Recognizing this pattern can save individuals from prolonged emotional turmoil. To shield ourselves from covert narcissism, it is vital to cultivate emotional awareness. Understanding our emotional responses equips us to identify manipulative behaviors. A 2021 survey found that 70% of individuals who practiced mindfulness reported improved relationships, as they could better navigate interpersonal dynamics. The overarching lesson is that while covert narcissism may not dominate the conversation as openly as its overt counterpart, its effects can be just as devastating. As awareness of mental health grows, we must shine a light on these subtle forms of manipulation so that their power diminishes in our lives. Through understanding, we can dismantle the covert strategies that hold us captive, allowing us to emerge empowered and resilient. What will you do to protect your emotional landscape from those who operate in the shadows? Cult behavior showcases one of the most terrifying applications of dark psychology. The mechanisms of manipulation, control, and indoctrination within cults provide a bleak insight into the human psyche. Cult leaders possess an understanding of psychology and use it masterfully to exploit vulnerability. To illustrate, consider the infamous cult led by Jim Jones, the People's Temple, which culminated in the tragic events of Jonestown in 1978. Jones was a master manipulator who preyed on societal issues such as poverty and racial discrimination, persuading people to follow him under the guise of community and love. His use of groupthink, isolation from the outside world, and emotional coercion ensnared hundreds, leading to a mass suicide that shook the world. A critical aspect of cult psychology is the use of fear, which serves as a powerful motivational tool. By instilling fear of the outside world and promising salvation, members are drawn deeper into the fold. A study published in the Journal of Psychological Studies found that fear tactics can lead to higher levels of compliance among individuals, resulting in unquestioning loyalty. In addition, cult leaders often present themselves as saviors or prophets, creating a dependency that is difficult to break. This dependency fosters an environment where questioning the leader's authority becomes synonymous with questioning one's own identity and beliefs. Survivors of cults often report severe trauma from the manipulation experienced, struggling to reintegrate into society after leaving. The case of the Branch Davidians, led by David Koresh, further exemplifies how psychological manipulation operates within cults. His promises of an impending apocalypse held members captive, leading to the infamous standoff in Waco, Texas, in 1993. The psychological impact of being part of a high-stakes environment where one's life hangs in the balance cannot be overstated. Understanding cult dynamics sheds light on the importance of critical thinking and skepticism. Educational frameworks that teach individuals to analyze and question information critically could serve as a bulwark against falling prey to such dark influences. The research by the American Psychological Association emphasizes the importance of these skills in promoting mental resilience. The exploration of the cult mindset reveals the extreme potential of dark psychology to manipulate entire groups of people. As we learn from these harrowing tales, it is essential to nurture our critical thinking abilities and remain vigilant against the persuasive techniques that aim to ensnare the unsuspecting. Will you challenge the narratives presented to you, or will you succumb to the influence of those who seek to manipulate your belief? Toxic relationships can be among the most damaging consequences of dark psychology. They can manifest as emotional, psychological, or physical abuse, creating an environment where manipulation thrives. Recognizing the signs is the first step towards liberation. One key indicator of a toxic relationship is a pattern of manipulation and control. If your partner consistently undermines your self-esteem, making you feel worthless or incapable, it's crucial to evaluate the dynamics at play. A study by the National Domestic Violence Hotline found that approximately 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience some form of intimate partner violence. Consider the tale of a woman named Sarah, who found herself in a relationship with a partner who would constantly belittle her achievements in front of others while behaving lovingly when alone. This cycle of emotional abuse created confusion and self-doubt. Sarah eventually found the strength to leave, but not without a long journey of recognizing the manipulation she had endured. The roles of gaslighting and projection are critical in toxic relationships. Gaslighting involves distorting reality to make the victim question their sanity. A survey conducted by the Journal of Interpersonal Violence revealed that gaslighting is a common tactic in emotionally abusive relationships, leading to severe mental health repercussions. Victims often report feelings of isolation, anxiety, and confusion as they grapple with their distorted sense of reality. Furthermore, breaking free from toxicity requires immense courage and often a solid support system. Surrounding oneself with supportive friends and family can bolster the strength needed to disengage from toxic dynamics. Statistics show that individuals who seek support when leaving abusive relationships are significantly more likely to succeed. Understanding the cycle of abuse, characterized by tension building, explosive incidents, and reconciliation, can illuminate the path towards healing. Resources such as therapy and support groups provide essential external perspectives and coping strategies for victims. In a world where dark psychology tactics are rampant, the journey to recognizing and breaking free from toxic relationships can be arduous yet transformative. By understanding our worth and surrounding ourselves with uplifting influences, we can safeguard our mental health and find the peace that we deserve. How will you reclaim your space in relationships that serve you? As we draw our exploration of dark psychology to a close, it becomes clear that empowerment is rooted in awareness. Understanding the tactics of manipulation, be it in relationships, media, or social dynamics, equips us to navigate life with purpose and clarity. The first step to empowerment is education. Knowledge about dark psychology enables us to identify manipulative behaviors and develop strategies to defend against them. A report from the World Health Organization indicates that psychological education can lead to improved mental health outcomes, suggesting that better-informed individuals can protect their well-being. Consider the recent rise of mental health awareness campaigns which aim to educate the public about manipulation and emotional health. These initiatives not only promote understanding but also foster community support and solidarity. By sharing personal experiences and insights, individuals break the stigma surrounding mental health, empowering others along the way. Moreover, self-care practices play an essential role in cultivating resilience. Engaging in activities that nourish our mental and emotional well-being, such as mindfulness meditation and journaling, can bolster our defenses against dark psychology tactics. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology emphasizes the benefits of mindfulness in enhancing emotional regulation and psychological resilience. We also must not shy away from hard conversations about manipulation and its effects. By voicing concerns and addressing negative behaviors, we can create healthier environments in our relationships and communities. A survey from the American Psychological Association found that open discussions about mental health in families lead to increased support and healthier dynamics. Empowerment through awareness calls for a commitment to continuous learning. As new tactics emerge, staying informed equips us to adapt and respond to life's challenges effectively. The journey towards understanding dark psychology and its impacts is lifelong, but the benefits are profound. By committing to awareness and education, we position ourselves not as victims of manipulation but as architects of our own destinies. As we end this documentary, let us remember that the shadows of dark psychology can only thrive in silence. It is our duty to shine a light on these tactics, empowering ourselves and others to reclaim our narratives. The real question remains: how will you harness your awareness to navigate the complexities of human behavior and emerge empowered? In the realm of dark psychology, one tactic stands out for its insidious nature: gaslighting. This psychological manipulation technique, derived from the 1944 film Gaslight, serves to make the victim question their reality, memories, and perceptions. Imagine a scenario where someone you trust gradually erodes your sense of self over time. It starts subtly, with small denials of facts that seem ridiculous, but it escalates into a full-scale assault on your sanity. Gaslighting can be seen in various personal relationships, from romantic partners to workplace dynamics. For instance, take the story of Sarah. Over a year, her boyfriend would subtly deny events that had occurred, twist her words around, and even accuse her of being forgetful or overly sensitive. The constant confusion left her feeling unstable and anxious, unsure of her reality. In psychological terms, the perpetrator uses denial, misdirection, and contradiction to manipulate the victim into doubting their own memories and sanity. Gaslighting can have devastating long-term effects, leading to anxiety, depression, and even PTSD in victims. Studies show that prolonged exposure to gaslighting can alter brain structures associated with emotional regulation and self-perception. One of the most notorious gaslighting cases in history involved the infamous cult leader David Koresh, who manipulated his followers in the Branch Davidian sect. He convinced them that their perceptions were tainted, and only he could lead them to salvation, using intense psychological tactics to instill doubt about their own beliefs and memories. This form of control creates a dangerous environment where the victim is entirely reliant on their abuser. But how can you identify gaslighting? Some warning signs include frequent lying, contradiction of facts, and projecting blame onto the victim. The emotional turmoil engendered by gaslighting can affect every aspect of a person's life, from personal relationships to professional performance. Over time, individuals subjected to gaslighting might feel isolated, as their support networks weaken due to the manipulator's interference. The key to breaking the cycle of gaslighting is awareness. Recognizing the signs is the first step. After Sarah left her boyfriend, she sought therapy, where she learned to trust her perceptions again. Education about gaslighting can empower potential victims to reclaim their reality. In conclusion, understanding gaslighting tactics can play a vital role in resisting manipulation, allowing individuals to maintain their psychological autonomy. But what is the next tactic that's equally sinister and ever so pervasive? Stay tuned as we delve into the next psychological manipulation technique that's lurking in the shadows of our everyday lives. While we often think of hacking as a technical endeavor, the reality is that the most effective hackers exploit human psychology. Social engineering leverages our inherent trust and social norms to manipulate people into divulging confidential information. The truth is, a well-crafted social engineering attack can be as simple as a phone call or an email. Consider the case of Kevin Mitnick, one of the world's most infamous hackers. Instead of relying solely on complex coding techniques, Mitnick would often call employees directly, posing as a trusted tech support member. He would persuade them to share critical passwords or sensitive information, banking on the natural inclination to help others, which he exploited seamlessly. Social engineering can be broken down into various tactics, such as pretexting, phishing, and baiting. Pretexting involves creating a fabricated scenario to obtain information, while phishing uses deceptive emails to trick individuals into clicking malicious links. Baiting, on the other hand, tantalizes victims with an enticing offer, like free software or exclusive content, leading them to unknowingly compromise their data. In a notable incident, a hacker used baiting to infect an organization's system with malware by leaving infected USB drives in a parking lot, preying on human curiosity. What makes social engineering particularly dangerous is its reliance on human psychology rather than technology. Cybercriminals understand that people often trust authority and are motivated by emotions such as fear or urgency. This is where the concept of urgency comes into play. Creating a false sense of immediacy can lead individuals to make hasty decisions without thought. For example, phishing scams often warn victims that their bank account will be closed unless they act immediately. Statistics reveal that up to 93% of data breaches involve some form of social engineering. This startling figure indicates not only the prevalence of these tactics but also the importance of awareness in combating them. Organizations have begun implementing training programs to educate employees on recognizing social engineering attempts and constructing a security-aware culture. The story of a woman named Lisa illustrates this well. Lisa received an email that appeared to be from her bank, urging her to verify her credentials. Thankfully, she hesitated and reported the email to her IT department, who confirmed it was a phishing attempt. Training programs that simulate real-life scenarios can enhance employees' ability to spot social engineering tactics. The key takeaway here is that in the face of sophisticated technology, the simplest actions can yield the most significant results. Vigilance and education are crucial in protecting against social engineering efforts. But as we move forward, what lies behind the curtain of manipulation within groups? What happens when these tactics scale to a more communal level? Let's explore the chilling impact of mob psychology. Fear is a powerful tool of manipulation. It can control, blind, and mislead us. Understanding how fear operates in dark psychology is crucial for recognizing and counteracting its influence. Fear tactics are employed across various realms, from politics to marketing, and even in personal relationships. Consider the classroom, where a teacher might use fear to maintain control over their students. When intimidation is used, it creates an environment where students feel they must comply out of fear of repercussions. This can lead to silence and compliance, stifling creativity and open dialogue. In the political arena, fearmongering is a common tactic. Politicians often exploit public fears regarding crime, immigration, or terrorism to garner support. The infamous Daisy ad from the 1964 presidential campaign is a prime example. It featured a little girl counting daisy petals before transitioning to images of a nuclear explosion. The underlying message was clear: choose the right leader, or face catastrophic consequences. Research shows that fear can significantly influence decision-making. When people are scared, they often revert to instinctual behavior that prioritizes immediate safety over long-term thinking. This dynamic is exploited in various marketing strategies, where consumers are coerced into purchasing products by highlighting potential dangers. Think of advertisement campaigns promoting home security systems that play on fears of burglary. Beyond politics and marketing, the concept of terror management theory posits that fear of death can influence our behaviors, attitudes, and even belief systems. This theory suggests that when individuals are confronted with reminders of their mortality, they tend to cling tighter to their cultural beliefs and dismiss those who challenge them. A study by psychologists Greenberg, Solomon, and Piskczynski found that when participants were reminded of death, they became more supportive of their nation's military actions. Fear also plays a critical role in personal relationships. Abusive partners often utilize intimidation and fear to dominate their victims. For example, a controlling partner may threaten self-harm or violence to manipulate their partner's actions. Victims often feel trapped, believing they must comply to prevent harm to themselves or others. It's essential to understand the toll that fear-based manipulation takes on mental health. Those subjected to fear-based tactics often experience anxiety, depression, and a diminished sense of self-worth. The key to defending oneself against fear manipulation lies in cultivating resilience and developing critical thinking skills. One way to counteract fear tactics is to seek factual information and engage in open discussions about perceived threats. In conclusion, understanding the role of fear as a dark psychological tactic empowers individuals to reclaim their autonomy and think independently. But as we transition into our final chapter, how can we further protect ourselves from manipulation while fostering a healthier relationship with our own minds? Join us as we explore the importance of mental resilience and empowerment. Hypnosis has long been a subject of fascination and skepticism. But what happens when it intersects with dark psychology? Many people think hypnosis is merely a stage trick, but it involves real psychological principles that can influence behavior and perception. Hypnosis works through suggestion, where the therapist leads the subject into a trance-like state. During this state, the mind becomes more open to suggestions, which can be both therapeutic and, in darker hands, manipulative. For instance, consider the infamous case of the hypnotic killer. In the 1980s, a man named John Money famously used hypnosis to manipulate his patient into committing murder. While this extreme case raises ethical questions, it showcases the potential dangers of suggestion. In controlled environments, hypnosis can help with anxiety, pain relief, and even breaking bad habits. Yet, when wielded irresponsibly, it poses a threat. In therapy, a skilled practitioner uses hypnosis for positive outcomes, but there are those who exploit these techniques for control or exploitation. Think of marketers who use subtle cues to shape consumer behavior, or even individuals who manipulate friends and family using conversational hypnosis. Such tactics are dangerous when they blur the line between influence and control. So, how can we differentiate between beneficial and harmful suggestions? Understanding the psychology behind suggestion is crucial. Studies show that people under hypnosis can experience real changes in memory and perception. This is due to the suggestibility of the subconscious mind. However, the same mechanism can be used to implant false memories or to manipulate individuals into doing things they ordinarily wouldn't consider. The implications of this are vast. Imagine a scenario where someone is convinced they have committed a crime because of a suggestion made during a hypnotic session. This manipulation isn't just theoretical, it has happened in courts. In the early 2000s, a case emerged where a convicted man argued that he was hypnotically induced to confess to a crime he didn't commit. The courts had to navigate the murky waters of whether hypnotic suggestion could be deemed valid in a legal context. This chapter illustrates how powerful dark psychology can be through the lens of suggestion. It highlights the need for caution and awareness. The reality is, the techniques of dark psychology, when combined with hypnosis, can lead to dangerous outcomes. So, how do we protect ourselves against these subtle influences? By fostering awareness and understanding our own vulnerabilities, we can begin to shield ourselves from manipulation. But as we'll see in the next chapter, guarding against dark psychology tactics requires more than just knowledge. It demands a deep, introspective look at our motivations and fears. Join me as we uncover the defenses we can cultivate in our lives. Cognitive dissonance is one of the most powerful psychological phenomena we encounter in our lives. It's that uncomfortable feeling we get when our beliefs conflict with our actions. Understanding cognitive dissonance can shed light on how dark psychology operates. When someone engages in manipulative practices, they often rely on cognitive dissonance to maintain control. For example, take the case of a salesperson who pressures a customer into a purchase that doesn't align with their values. The customer may feel an internal conflict. I don't really need this product, but I'm already investing so much time into this sale. This tension can lead them to rationalize the purchase, a classic example of cognitive dissonance. Research suggests that when faced with this discomfort, individuals often change their beliefs to align with their actions rather than vice versa. This is where dark psychology can sneak in. Consider the unethical marketer who preys on our insecurities. They might create a narrative that convinces us purchasing their product is essential for our well-being, thus leading us to compromise our values. Over time, they create an environment where the individual views their purchase as justified, despite initial reluctance. This manipulation feeds into the broader system of dark psychology, as the manipulator exploits the individual's discomfort. But cognitive dissonance isn't just about marketing, it also plays a role in interpersonal relationships. Many individuals stay in toxic dynamics because of the conflict they feel. They may convince themselves that their partner's hurtful behavior is acceptable or even love. This rationalization is a hallmark of cognitive dissonance, and understanding it can help us break free from these unhealthy patterns. Studies indicate that those who recognize their cognitive dissonance are better equipped to make decisions aligned with their true values. So how do we combat the negative influences of cognitive dissonance promoted by dark psychology? The answer lies in self-awareness and reflection. By regularly evaluating our decisions and recognizing when we feel conflicted, we can gain insight into our motivations. This awareness is a powerful tool in our arsenal against manipulation. As we delve deeper into the nuances of dark psychology, we begin to understand the significant role cognitive dissonance plays in our choices. But how can we teach others about this phenomenon? Join me in the next chapter as we explore the intersection of dark psychology and emotional blackmail, a concept that leverages cognitive dissonance to keep individuals trapped in a cycle of guilt and manipulation. Emotional blackmail is one of the insidious methods of dark psychology. It's a tactic that exploits our emotions to gain control over others. This form of manipulation often operates in intimate relationships, friendships, and even workplace environments. The essence of emotional blackmail is simple: the manipulator threatens emotional harm to get what they want. Imagine a partner saying, "If you really loved me, you would do this for me." This statement plants a seed of doubt and guilt, compelling the other to comply out of fear of losing love or acceptance. The term emotional blackmail was popularized by psychologist Susan Forward, who described it as a process where one person uses threats, guilt, or pressure to control the other. Research highlights that emotional blackmail can stem from various psychological issues, including anxiety and low self-esteem. Manipulators often have a fear of abandonment or loss, leading them to resort to control tactics. A prime example of this can be seen in the dynamics of high-control relationships, where one partner may withhold affection or support unless the other meets certain demands. The manipulation isn't always overt, it can be subtle, gradually eroding the victim's confidence and autonomy. In the workplace, emotional blackmail can manifest through manipulative leaders who threaten job security or professional growth unless their demands are met. The implications are profound. Individuals caught in the cycle of emotional blackmail often experience anxiety and depression, struggling to maintain boundaries. But how can one break free from this cycle? The first step is recognizing the tactics being used. Keeping a journal, talking to trusted friends, and setting clear boundaries are essential actions. Once we identify these patterns, we can begin to reclaim our autonomy. The road to recovery involves building self-worth and assertiveness. Empowering ourselves through self-awareness is key to dismantling the stronghold of emotional blackmail. But the journey doesn't end here. Understanding these manipulative tactics can help us not only protect ourselves but also assist others who may find themselves in similar situations. In our next chapter, we will investigate the harsh realities of dark psychology in the corporate world, where manipulation can run rampant. Imagine standing in a crowded place, and suddenly you hear someone yell fire. Instinctively, people around you begin to panic, rushing out of the building to safety. But have you ever stopped to consider why we react so quickly to certain triggers? This is the dark psychology of compliance, a mechanism that exploits our social conditioning to follow orders, often without questioning their morality or implications. Compliance can lead to both positive outcomes, like following life-saving instructions, and negative consequences, such as participating in unethical or harmful activities. To understand how compliance works, we must first examine the famous Milgram experiment conducted in the 1960s. In this experiment, participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a learner, who was actually a Confederate, whenever they answered a question incorrectly. What's shocking is that a significant majority continued to administer shocks, even when the learner appeared to be in severe distress, simply because an authority figure told them to do so. This experiment highlights a fundamental aspect of dark psychology, the willingness of individuals to comply with authority figures, even when it contravenes their moral compass. This propensity for compliance can be harnessed in various contexts, from corporate settings where employees might follow unethical orders, to more insidious situations like cults or abusive relationships. Let's consider the infamous case of Jim Jones and the People's Temple. In the late 1970s, Jones led his followers to commit mass suicide in Jonestown, Guyana, under the guise of a revolutionary act. His manipulation tactics relied heavily on compliance. He positioned himself as a savior and an authority figure, using psychological techniques to gain unwavering loyalty from his followers. Through emotional appeals, social isolation, and fear-based tactics, Jones created a climate where compliance was not just expected, but demanded. Understanding the mechanics of compliance is crucial for building resilience against dark psychology tactics. Awareness of our own susceptibility to authority can empower us to question orders that may lead us astray. By cultivating critical thinking skills and encouraging open dialogue, we can foster environments where questioning authority does not lead to ostracism but instead promotes healthy skepticism. On the other hand, it's important to recognize that compliance isn't inherently negative. In emergency situations, compliance can save lives. However, the challenge lies in discerning when compliance is appropriate and when it becomes a slippery slope into moral abyss. In navigating our social landscape, we need to ask ourselves hard questions. To what extent do we comply? Are we willing to turn a blind eye to injustices simply because someone in authority tells us to? The power of compliance can work for or against us, and being conscious of its implications is essential for personal empowerment. As we proceed, we should be wary of those who wield authority and remember that the ability to resist compliance is a hallmark of a free mind. In the next chapter, we will explore the technique of social proof, how the actions of others can influence our own behavior, unpacking the intricate dance between conformity and individuality. Have you ever walked into a restaurant and noticed a long line outside? What do? Most people will likely assume the food is excellent and join the queue. This phenomenon is known as social proof, a psychological tactic that influences our decisions based on the behavior of others. It's an example of dark psychology that can be employed for both good and ill, shaping our actions often without our conscious awareness. At its core, social proof operates on the principle that we look to others to guide our actions, especially in uncertain situations. Research by psychologist Solomon Asch in the 1950s illustrates this beautifully. In his experiments, participants were asked to identify which line matched a given length. When Confederates provided incorrect answers, about 75% of participants conformed to the group, clearly demonstrating the power of social influence over personal judgment. This tactic is effectively used in marketing. Companies exploit social proof by showcasing testimonials, user reviews, and influencer endorsements to create a perception of trust. When we see others enjoying a product, we are far more likely to buy it ourselves. However, this tactic can also lead us astray, encouraging us to adopt beliefs or behaviors that may not align with our values. Take the example of the infamous Fire Festival, marketed as a luxury music festival in the Bahamas. Influencers and celebrities promoted the event, boasting about exclusive parties and lavish accommodations. The social proof of their endorsement led thousands to invest in what turned out to be a disastrous experience. In this case, social proof became a tool of manipulation that exploited the desires of the masses. But how can we protect ourselves from the darker aspects of social proof? The first step is awareness. Recognizing when our decisions are being influenced by social dynamics can empower us to make more conscious choices. Cultivating self-awareness and critical thinking skills allows us to step back and assess whether our choices align with our core beliefs rather than being swayed by the crowd. Another effective strategy is surrounding ourselves with diverse perspectives. When we expose ourselves to a wide array of viewpoints, we become less susceptible to groupthink and more capable of independent thought. By doing so, we create an environment that values dialogue over conformity, encouraging thoughtful discussions that can lead to personal growth and understanding. As we navigate this complex landscape of influence, it's essential to find a balance between recognizing the role of social proof and maintaining our individual integrity. We need to ask ourselves, are we following the crowd because it feels safe, or are we consciously choosing our path? Understanding the dynamics of social proof enables us to harness its power positively without falling prey to its darker implications. Next, we'll dive into a gripping narrative about emotional blackmail, the silent manipulator that often remains hidden in our relationships. Imagine this scenario: you're in a relationship, and your partner suddenly gives you the silent treatment because you forgot to pick up their favorite snack. You feel anxious, desperate to mend the rift, but you cannot figure out how to bridge the gap. This is emotional blackmail, a form of manipulation that can deeply affect our mental health and interpersonal relationships. Emotional blackmail is often characterized by the use of threats, punishment, or withdrawal of affection to control another person's behavior. Psychologist Dr. Susan Forward, in her book Emotional Blackmail, Protect Yourself Against a Loved One's Threats, outlines how this tactic leverages fear, obligation, and guilt, often referred to as FOG, to coerce individuals into compliance. Consider the heartbreaking case of a young woman named Sarah, who was in an emotionally toxic relationship. Her boyfriend would often manipulate her feelings by saying things like, "If you really loved me, you would do this for me." Over time, Sarah felt trapped, believing that her love for him was conditional on her compliance with his demands. This vicious cycle of guilt and fear kept her in a relationship that was ultimately unhealthy and damaging. Emotional blackmailers often use their loved ones' vulnerabilities against them, exploiting insecurities and fears to gain control. This manipulation can be subtle at first. An emotional blackmailer may start with small demands that escalate over time. It's not uncommon for victims of emotional blackmail to feel confused and isolated, unable to express their struggles to others for fear of being judged or dismissed. Breaking free from emotional blackmail requires immense strength and self-awareness. It begins with recognizing the signs of manipulation, understanding that feeling guilty or afraid is a signal you might be under the influence of an emotional blackmailer. Establishing healthy boundaries is also crucial. This means feeling empowered to communicate your needs and limits while ensuring that you do not compromise your emotional well-being for the sake of others. Consider the example of an individual who learned to confront the emotional blackmail in their life. After years of feeling controlled, they finally mustered the courage to confront their partner. By clearly expressing their feelings and establishing boundaries, they were able to reclaim their sense of self and regain control over their emotional landscape. However, the road to recovery from emotional blackmail is rarely straightforward. It often involves navigating complex feelings of love, betrayal, and the fear of being alone. Support from friends, therapists, and support groups can be invaluable in this journey. As we reflect on the impact of emotional blackmail, we must recognize that our emotional health matters. We deserve relationships built on mutual respect and understanding, free from fear and manipulation. Next, we will explore how understanding our own psychological triggers can empower us to dismantle these dark tactics in our lives. When we think of manipulation, we often picture someone whose intentions are blatantly sinister. Yet, one of the most dangerous tactics in dark psychology is charm. Charismatic individuals can disarm us with their warmth and charm, making us more susceptible to their influence. This tactic is often employed by con artists, narcissists, and sociopaths, who know that charm can cover a multitude of sins. Take, for example, the infamous con artist Frank Abagnale Jr., whose life was portrayed in the film Catch Me If You Can. From impersonating a Pan Am pilot to a Harvard law student, Abagnale exploited his charm to manipulate those around him. He crafted a persona so convincing that it was hard for people to distrust him. Psychologists have studied charm and likability extensively. Research shows that we are more likely to trust someone who is likable, which can lead to our own manipulation. According to a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, people will often overlook red flags if they feel positively towards an individual. In social dynamics, charm can be a double-edged sword. While it can inspire cooperation and trust, it can also lead to exploitation. Think about how many relationships are built on charm but collapse under the weight of manipulation. This reveals the fine line between genuine connection and exploitative relationships. One of the most common scenarios where charm is weaponized is in romantic relationships. A partner may come across as irresistibly charming at first, creating an illusion of a perfect match. However, behind that facade, dark intentions could lurk. This can lead to a cycle of emotional manipulation where the victim feels trapped in a web of affection and deceit. Recognizing charm as a potential manipulation tactic requires self-awareness. Understand that not everything that sparkles is gold. Learn to trust your instincts and question the motives behind someone's charm. Even in professional settings, charm can be used to gain leverage. A colleague who seems overly friendly may have ulterior motives. By relying on likability, they can manipulate situations to their advantage, garnering support while undermining others. In summary, charm can be a powerful weapon in the hands of a manipulator. It's essential to develop a sense of discernment that allows you to appreciate genuine charm while being cautious of its darker implications. As we continue to explore the depths of dark psychology, let's consider another facet, the role of seduction in manipulation and how it plays into our emotional vulnerabilities. Seduction, when thought of positively, can evoke feelings of romance and attraction. Yet, in the realm of dark psychology, seduction becomes a tool of manipulation and control. Seductive tactics often exploit our deepest desires, leading us to make choices that may not be in our best interest. Consider the infamous case of the sugar baby and sugar daddy arrangements, where emotional and financial manipulation merges. These relationships often start with allure, the promise of companionship, adventure, and indulgence. However, they can devolve into tender traps where one partner becomes emotionally dependent on the other. According to anthropologist Dr. Rachel Lee, the allure of seduction lies in its ability to create an emotional high. In her research, she found that many seduction techniques hinge on the principle of scarcity, making someone feel that the connection is rare can heighten desire. Seduction can also be weaponized in advertising and marketing. Companies leverage emotional appeal to create desire for products that we might not need. Think of the ads that promise happiness, beauty, and fulfillment. These messages play directly into our insecurities and desires, pushing us